Everything's being recorded in, so all our language, everything had to be cool. We're in a-
I was thinking of full moons, you know,
Oh,
whatever that means.
are we okay, Robin?
Yes, but.
Okay, I saw it up there. I just wanted to be sure that you were.
You have
All right. I'll call the meeting to order and ask the staff to call the roll if you would.
Ellie,
Here?
Vice Chair Lisa Jones,
Here.
Rhonda Loja, William Ritter, Stan Parsons.
Here.
Alex Marmeyer, Matthew Ring, Council Liaison Clark,
Here.
Planning and Zoning Commission Liaison Ed Cohen.
Here. Okay, and we have no alternates to worry about, so we will not be doing that. Board members and attendees can use the raise hand feature to indicate any request to speak. And if you'd be promoted to Mr. Clark is already, I think, listed as a panelist, so that wouldn't be a problem. Action on the August 10th, 2023 draft meeting minutes. They were distributed. A motion would be in order to approve. Is there one? Mr. Parsons moves to approve. Is there a second? Mr. Cole moves to a second. Any additions or corrections? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The minutes are approved. Okay, the agenda item for this evening, as far as I know, is simply this one agenda item, which is for the Baldwin Sinclair Automotive. Are there any other items or any changes that anyone has for the agenda before we proceed? If not, that will be our agenda for the evening. We do have a public comment period, which is for any public comments other than for the case that will be here. And I will ask if there are any public comments. And seeing none, we will then move on. Is there any old business? And seeing none, we will move on to the new business. And our case is Baldwin Sinclair Automotive, 16929 Manchester Road, which is a review of one new sign associated with an existing commercial business located within Wildwood Town Center, requiring variances from the Board of Adjustment. And I'll staff to introduce the applicant and provide any other preliminary information before they speak.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, we do not have any initial comments. I do have a very short presentation. And Mr. Kelly is here with us this evening as the applicant. So just to give you a broad swipe overview of what we are reviewing tonight, this property does concern Baldwin Sinclair Automotive at 16929 Manchester Road. This property is located in our Wildwood Town Center along our historic Route 66 in our historic Grover community. The building on the site was built in 1959. Let me say that again, because I think there was an error in your documents. It was built in 1959. It is located in the C8 planned commercial zoning district. The governing ordinance for this district was approved by St. Louis County in 1984 via ordinance 11,577. The request tonight does concern a request for sign variance. This is for a new business sign that just recently replaced an old business sign. This was due to a change of hands of the property. The new business sign, which I'm just going to go ahead and bring it on the screen, is thus. This business sign is of the same size and dimensions as the old business sign, and it's also of the same type. However, the City of Wildwood zoning code requires individual pinned on lettering for signage, and that is the subject of this variance request. This is what the old signage looked like. Tonight, the department is not requesting an action from this board. However, we are looking for your comments, suggestions, and recommendations, which this department will then draft in the form of a memorandum on your behalf to the Board of Adjustment, and we will provide that to you for your approval before the next Board of Adjustment meeting. This is required by Chapter 415-400 of our sign regulations. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions of the department, Director Bunich and I are here to answer them. But otherwise, we also have our applicant with us, Mr. Kelly. Thank you.
Mr. Kelly, go ahead.
My name's Bobby. I'm the new owner of Baldwin Sinclair. Just trying to replace the sign. The other sign was probably 50+ years old. So. Yeah. It's the same dimensions. I mean, just want to replace it.
Help me understand, if I may, what was it, this pinpoint or something, I don't understand the differences in terms of each letter has to be in some way attached as opposed to the whole sign, is that what?
That's correct. So our code specifically stipulates individual pinned on letters versus like a whole sign.
Why?
Well,
Go ahead, Mr. Parsons.
I have a question. Is this building historically significant in any way with Route 66 and the historic road? I mean, I would imagine this building probably goes back that far, does it not? I'm not sure. You said 1950, 59.
It was built in 1959. The 1950s was the heyday of Route 66. However, it was not, at that time, Route 66 had actually been realigned already from our historic Grover area. However, it does maintain the feel of our historic corridor in that it's an automotive related business. And it is located in one of our, historic communities that just has a different feel than other parts of our town center.
I agree, and I think it's a Route 66 type of appeal. I think I drive by it a lot. Yeah, I don't know why individual pinned on letters. I mean, they've done a lot since Mr. Kelly has taken over here recently. He's done a lot to clean things up, clean the building up. It looks good. And it's presentable. And, I mean, I'm saying it's a good thing for when you drive by and look at it.
Especially since it's just going right in the existing, like,
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah.
Finish.
no, I don't see a problem with it going right back into where it was, though.
Ms. Clark?
Thank you, Chair. My question is what's been asked already, but I didn't hear an answer for it. Why in the first place did we ask for pinned-on letters? I'm sure there had to be a reason for that. So I would like to know what that reason was before deciding one way or the other.
Your permission.
Yeah, please, if you have any insight on that. It goes back to the county rather than the city.
Actually, it starts almost the same time the city incorporated. At that time, in March of 1996, which is about 7 months after the incorporation, the city hired a gentleman named Andres Dewani. And his forte, his skill was in new urbanism, which is the development philosophy we use here in Town Center. And from his perspective, individual pinned-on letters are not necessarily the optimum, but they avoid what we call box signs. And I'm sure you've seen them. They're just like a rectangular square. They stick onto the front facade, and there's just a plastic sheet across with the lettering on it, and then it's lit from behind. And those types of signs spill light. They're hard to distinguish. And in Town Center with new urbanism, we were trying to complement the architecture of the building with attractive signs. And so that's where it started. In 2006, a gentleman named Robert Gibbs, who is an expert in retail, helping major retails basically present their stores as effectively as possible and increase sales. He also reiterated the need for individual pinned-on letters. the problems we faced over the years is if somebody really does pin them on and they have a long business name, it pockmarks the front facade to no end. So what a lot of people do now, and we encourage this, is it's called a raceway. It's just a bar. And they actually mount the individual letters on the bar. And the bar contains all the electrical components for the lighting. And it generally only takes about two or three supports to kind of attach it to the facade, and it works well. So it's new urbanism. It's been with us for the most part since the town center plan began development. And it's really an avoidance of signs that you see elsewhere that we just didn't want.
If I might follow up on that, Chair?
Please.
Thank you. Then, Mr. Vinich, maybe we should revise this, this code and so that it's more specific in the reasoning behind it and add this raceway, if I'm pronouncing that right, process for putting and maybe provisions for signs such as this, so that it doesn't have to come before the board.
With your permission.
Please. That's great.
Ms. Clark, what I would suggest is, as Mr. Parsons mentioned, Mr. Lavelli and Ms. Keefe, this is a historic area. And so in some instances, the pinned on letters may not be historically appropriate in the right context. So from that perspective, I think we could have the Planning and Zoning Commission at least look at the individual pinned on letters from that perspective. And that'd be something I'm sure Mr. Cohn and the department would be glad to encourage the rest of the commission members to do.
Do you need a motion to refer that to planning and zoning?
And with your permission.
Yes, go ahead, Mr. Winch.
Ms. Clark, I think as part of the standard practice on variances for signs, if it's just something that you all identify in your report, I think we can take it from there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Anything else, Ms. Clark? Okay, let's go.
Lighting. Have a light, no lighting, it's just a sign.
Yeah, no way.
There's no lighting.
Very good.
Any other question, Ms. Parsons?
Well, I'm kind of repeating myself, but right across the street is the historic Route 66 sign. And I know every time I drive through the area, I see this building and the Route 66 sign, and it just takes me right back to what was the TV show with the guys driving a Corvette and stuff? I mean, you know, Route 66 is the name. And that's where it reminds me of that. And I think it's pleasing, and what they've currently done to spruce up the building and everything else is just enhanced all of that. So that's a personal opinion.
Any other comments or questions? Go ahead.
I would
Ms.
just
Jones.
say that, you know, piggybacking off what you said, that when we're in these more historic areas, I think the pinned on lights are a little more modern and it takes away from that charm. So I think that this is a better route. So.
And then Robin and I will reflect your comments collectively as all four members that you'd like the commission to look at that from a historic perspective and maybe having other alternatives.
Go ahead. Ms.
So you're looking for a motion for recommendation tonight?
If you all feel very strongly, I don't think that would hurt, because then I can include that in the memorandum. In the past, if I hear mixed things, then I just summarize everything I hear. But in this case, it sounds like you're all on the same page.
Mr. Cohen, you are in order for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the sign as submitted.
Second, Ms.
Or
Parsons.
recommend.
Recommendation. Any discussion? Ms. Clark?
No, I was just gonna second.
Oh, okay. We had 3 seconds there.
Who, I'm
I
sorry.
think I saw Mr. Parsons
Mr.
first.
Parsons who seconded it. Okay.
You beat me.
Split second, it was a race to the finish there.
You beat buzzers.
All right. Any discussion on the motion to, okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Clark, I assume. All right, the motion passed. The notes you've given me, further call for public comment? No, I don't see any other items that we need to deal with. I'm just looking at this agenda you.
Mr. Chair, there are no other items.
Then the next meeting date on our calendar following our normal routine would be October 12th, 2023, if the meeting is needed. And I have no closing remarks. Does anyone else have any closing remarks?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Ritter apparently was on Zoom. I'm not sure how long he has been there, but he might have some closing remarks.
Mr. Ritter, if you can hear us.
Yes. Good evening.
And
Sorry, I came
and I
in
don't
a
know-
bit-
how much of it you heard? I'll just briefly summarize that we had a couple of questions regarding the sign, but we have taken an action to recommend approval. But do you have any comments or thoughts or closing comments?
No, I actually heard all your comments about the sign. I think you made a fine decision and I would have agreed with you had I been there.
Very good. Thanks for calling my attention to that. So any other comments before we adjourn? A motion would be in order to adjourn. Okay, Mr. Parsons moves to adjourn. And Ms. Jones second. All those in favor say aye. Those opposed, nay. We are adjourned at 6:47.